I speaking to Martin Shkreli?
Yeah, who's this? How'd you get this number?
I just want to let you know this is on the recorded line. This is James from JPMorgan. I'm a senior banker here. I just wanted to introduce myself. I know you've been through a lot lately. I'm here at the office late to deal with this, so I'd like to get home and go see my family. But I've heard a lot from Jamie, and to be quite frank, he's not happy. I think you know what we're talking about.
Yeah. None of us are happy with this trade, but it's, what can I do? How can I help you?
I'm aware you spoke with my colleague earlier. Is that correct?
Yes, several of your colleagues, two different women, and of course, my guy Keith is nowhere to be found.
Right. Okay. Well, this trade has caused the bank a great concern, and Jamie's really not happy. Jamie's not happy. I'm not happy. None of us are happy, and we took a chance on you after prison, and we really thought that you changed, and to be quite frank, I mean, we're just really not happy with what's going on here. 100,000 shares. I mean, what do you have to say?
I mean, look, everyone.
Keith is going to get fired. You know that? Keith is going to get fired. He's going to lose his job.
Keith? I known him for 20 years. We go way back.
Yeah. Well, I hope you have a good explanation for him. I mean, this is really not looking good, Martin. I mean, I don't know what we're going to do here, how we're going to resolve this, but, I got to deal with Jamie, and you know Jamie. What should we do?
I mean, what is there to do? I mean, we can wait it out.
All right, if that's how you want to play, if you want to play hardball, Martin, we're going to play hardball. Okay,
I'm just saying I can add some more capital. I can't add the whole 17 million, but I can add 5, and then I don't want you guys to take over the trade or anything, but I want to see if I can work this out.
All right, I understand. I understand you've been through a lot. I got a wife and kids. I understand. Life takes turns, but listen, I'm going to talk to Jamie. He's calling me now. I got to really deal with this.
Okay.
I just want to go home and see my family.
Anything you could do to help me would be really appreciated. I didn't know Keith was getting fired over this, but it's just 17 million. You guys are a big bank. We can figure this out.
The bank's going to be taking over the trade.
What? No. This is my trade. No. You can't do that. No, it's my.
You're gonna have to. You know what? We're gonna have to sit there. We're gonna have a sit down with Jamie, and we're gonna have to talk about this because as of now, the bank is going to have to take over.
But you're gonna just take it and you're gonna sell it and you're gonna take it down to 30.
I can't speak on that. That's not.
This is what you guys always do. You're gonna take it and you're gonna sell it all at the open. It's gonna go to 30. Then it's gonna go back to 50.
You know what? I can't predict the future. You never know what's gonna happen tomorrow. But listen, I have Jamie call me right now. I got to deal with this. All right, he's up my ass.
I'll be here.
I really wish this didn't happen, Martin. I really do.
I'll be here.
All right, Martin. I'll be in touch. Have a great night.
You too. Hello.
Hello. Is this Martin Shkreli?
Yes.
Sorry to call you so late. Is this a good time to talk?
Having a rough day. Who's this?
Yeah, us too. This is 𝗕𝗢𝗘𝗧𝗜𝗢𝗕. I'm calling from JV. I just got out of a meeting, and I was wondering if you had some time to speak a little.
Yeah, I mean, I already talked to a whole bunch of people, so...
I just got done talking with a few people in a board meeting, and I wanted to let you know that, first off, Jamie's aware of the situation that we're in right now.
Sorry, say that again? Who?
Jamie is aware of the situation that we're in. I'm sure I don't have to...
Great.
So you can just assume that this is not a good call.
Yeah.
Here. Right. So I wanted to let you know that we lent you a lot, and we're frankly rather disappointed. We put a really...
Oh, you think I'm happy?
We're more upset right now, and we're doing a lot of scrambling behind the scenes that we have to deal with, and it's frankly something that I can't believe that we... I don't know. So... It looks like SRPT is that some kind of therapy company? What even is this?
The pharmaceutical company.
That's fantastic. 1,000 shares?
Yeah, 800.
We lent money to you because of the cassava thing that you did earlier. It seemed like it was a really great investment and that you make informed decisions. This seems like it's not on that spectrum at all.
Well, it just happened, so maybe you could cut me some slack. And, Keith was vouching for me. I don't know how it's gotten so serious to Jamie. I mean, come on, you guys have bigger things to worry about, right?
I mean, it could get a little bit bigger, isn't it?
I guess stock can't go down more. I don't think it can go down more.
I hope you are aware that this is not going to happen again. We are not going to extend any leniency. We're not going to extend any credit or anything to you ever again going forward.
Well, it's a little late for that. We got a $20 million problem on our hands. So if you want to force my hand, maybe this will become a $50 million problem. So you better work with me and, back off. Your other colleague called and basically threatened me, which is crazy. I don't even know what position you have at the company.
Sir, I'm the head of the North American markets.
Okay.
And
Head of all of North America?
All of it.
Okay. Well, listen, we're going to work this out somehow. I got some.
That would. We definitely are, aren't we?
Yes, I have some assets at Goldman. I think the stock might go up again tomorrow. I think maybe it could rebound.
I hope so. How often are your picks good?
You guys have my account. I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, good shape. Great job.
Well, obviously not right now, but.
No, not right now, but definitely fast, soon. Hopefully tomorrow.
Yeah, Goldman, is yeah. I mean, I have some cash.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't care what you have to do. I would really appreciate to get this sorted out as soon as possible.
Okay.
Much appreciated.
Inconvenience. I didn't intend for this to happen. It was like a perfect storm.
Certainly, yeah, that's how it goes. Hope you have a great evening, and you'll be hearing from us very soon.
Okay, we're kidding. Thank you, everyone, for helping me put this on. That was funny. That is how it would work in real life. That is the way it would work. We did it very accurately, I have to say. And my guests did their best, not being necessarily Wall Street experts. They did a bang up job. I'd like to thank you three guys for. We're long Sarepta, and it sucks, but nobody's going bankrupt. I cracked a little smile, very unnoticeable. Thank you. We thought prison changed you. That was money. The family. I mean, the portfolio's on screen. We're down a little bit, but I like the stock a lot. I don't think it's going to be it's not a generational buy, but if I was Roche or Pfizer, I'd go make a hostile bid. I mean, these are good assets. The problem is this guy. Okay. A lot of people say they never should have approved this drug. And this guy, Peter Marks, who's now out at FDA, approved it, even though nobody wanted it approved at FDA. But you're talking about Duchenne muscular dystrophy. These kids are dying. It's not a normal drug, so they approved it anyway. You can't take back an approval. But you got this new guy in here, so I don't know. So look, at the end of the day, in any position, you just don't go too big. You can be wrong. Everyone's wrong. Who isn't wrong? I've never met a hedge fund in my life that wasn't wrong. Look up every 13F. People are wrong on trades all the time. There was a Caston Capital was long Sarepta at 120, right? We started nibbling at 70, and we went ham at 45. That's at 37. Imagine being in at 120. I wish I was short. We were long. We were long and we bought more, but that's life in the fast lane, man. Trading is trading. You gotta take lumps sometimes. You can't cry about it. Take your loss and move on. Or in this case, we're going to hang it on trade for a little while. But either way, you can't make it something your entire portfolio. It's not about crying in the casino either. I think it's about, you can cry. There's certainly, the old saying, we used to say, this crying in the casino thing's popular now, but we used to say, live by the sword, die by the sword. That was the old saying. Now they say, no crying in the casino. Look, that goes without saying. Whether you cry in the casino or not, what keeps you from crying is not overextending yourself. Now, I wish I could take back every trade I did in this stupid stock, but I can't. And I just got to move on. You can take your lick and keep on ticking. The quantum stocks were down a lot, and they rallied back. It doesn't help that the HIMSS trade didn't go great either, but I don't have 800,000 shares, I can tell you that. But I also learned my lesson. In the old days, I would triple down and quadruple down and 10x down, and I would use banks' money and not tell them. That's what Bill Wang used to do. I actually told one of the people to mention Bill Wang. I wanted her to say, you're like Bill Wang, but worse. But, look, you learn over time. You get to become a better trader, and you realize that if you keep your positions to a certain size, you're not going to, you can't hurt yourself that much. So, if you followed the trade, look, I feel bad, of course. I lost money too. That's trading. Anyone who knows this knows this. We make good trades, we make bad trades. The key is to just try to make sure you stay in the game. Now, this thing's down 40%. We break even, we'd be lucky. But, it's this kind of stuff happens. It was not my biggest position. Before today, it was like a 2% position. And during the course of the day, we made it a 4% position. So really not the end of the world. If you decided to make it a 20% position or a 40% position or something like that, look, that's on you. I showed you this portfolio. Let me show it to you again. Sarepta is a big position. We lost 1% of our money on it, 1.5%. So we went from up almost 2% to now we're down, slightly, which is fine. You can live to play another day. In fact, I think we'll make that money back. But if you have 30, 40, 50% positions, I don't know what to tell you. I didn't tell you to do that. Look at my positions. That's a you problem. So this is the way you run a good portfolio. This position's pretty big here. This is 5%. We're now 5% long on Sarepta. And look at our average. Our average is 54, 55. Are we going to get back 55? Might be a while. So it is what it is. You have to. Now, if the question is, would you buy the stock today? Would you buy the stock today? And I think that, look, most banks don't lend you money. That's just not how it works. You have to deposit money. But there are ways. Better off not discussing that. Yeah, look, it's a falling knife. But at the end of the day, the average biotech trades at 10 times revenue. Okay? If your revenue is growing, 10 times revenue is fair. Take away the trade today and say, what is Sarepta worth? Exactly, biotech investor. So they're saying, all right, this year they said they were going to do 2.9 to 3.1, and they changed that to huge disappointment, right? They went to 2.3. But that's still, even at 5 times sales, even at just 5 times sales, that's 10 billion, and it's trading at 4 billion. And if you look at the growth, it's 30% year-over-year growth after 56% year-over-year growth. It's still a good company. It's still growing. This drug is selling. Even if this drug disappeared, arguably that's the price we're at now. If this drug just straight disappeared. And they have all these other drugs. I like it. Could I be wrong? Yes. Will I live to tell another day no matter what? Yes. And that's the most important thing in trading. The market's basically pricing in a reversal, but it's very hard to reverse a drug approval. It'd be very unprecedented. They said on the call, the FDA commissioner who's above this new guy likes them. And I think that's right. And so I think they'll be fine. And Sarepta is very powerful. They're more powerful than they seem. They're very connected into FDA. I wouldn't say it was martingaling. It was just buying and then seeing this dramatic drop that came out of nowhere. So, Well, look, I am not happy, Josh. I'm not an acting genius. It's a big problem for Sarepta. Capricor is basically done. Anyone relying on anything but overall survival data is a wrap. Every single medicine has to prove an overall survival benefit from now on. 10-year carcinogenicity study. You don't have 10-year carc? Sorry, try again. NDA denied. You now have to do phase 4 clinical trials on your drugs that went generic 40 years ago. We wanted a rubber stamp. We needed a rubber stamp at FDA. 7-year orphan exclusivity is now 7-month orphan exclusivity. I don't make the rules. 𝗍𝗍 does. 2-year toxicology for antibodies now. It's over, boys. It's over. Rapid. Close all those biotech startups too. That's right. It was a good run. Biotech was a cool industry. It's over. Pull the plug. 𝗍𝗍, is 𝗍𝗍 FDA commissioner too? 10 minutes into the job, he's been promoted. All p-values, am I reading this right? All p-values must be below 0.001. What? Okay, no more non-inferiority studies. Non-inferiority as a concept is gone. New p-value is 0.001. 10-year CARC study before you submit an NDA or BLA. No impurities, less than 0.01% must be characterized with their own tox study. What else do we got on this list here? Just reading off the new things 𝗍𝗍 is going to do. Overall study for every single drug. Outcomes for every single drug. No hard outcomes, just survival. That's it. It's no blood pressure. It's no biomarkers. It's survival or else. I don't care what the disease is. Can't improve survival, it's over. I don't know. I think it's probably much ado about nothing. You know, it's one thing is that I would say that Sarepta is probably more powerful than the CBER director, as crazy as that sounds. I'm also being told there is a new disease list where if you're not developing a drug for that disease, the FDA will not entertain any IND submissions, NDA submissions, any addendums to any open filing at FDA. Have to be on the disease list. The disease list has 12 diseases. They're all oncology. Certainly the drug industry has had its share of beatdowns. So it'd be nice to have a little relief. You know, you may argue that the FDA was a little too kind to Sarepta in the past, you know, but it would be unprecedented to reverse an approval. I think that's out of the question. You know, you can't just do that as a one person opinion. You know, you need pretty broad scientific consensus to do something like that. So I doubt there'd be any drug approvals, reversals. Some people have asked about the reversals of the past. One comes to mind called Xigris. I almost bought Xigris from Eli Lilly, actually. And Xigris was this sepsis drug that had this like pretty specious phase 3 package. And another study was conducted such that it was, you know, sort of beyond a shadow of a doubt that the drug did not work. And the FDA removed Xigris from the market. There are other drugs like this. Trazolol was another one, if I recall correctly. And then one I was heavily involved in before approval, where I warned FDA not to approve it, was Belviq or lorcaserin. That story's been told somewhere else, but lorcaserin got FDA approval and then was removed again by FDA. So, you know, it's three drug removals in, what is that? How many years is that, guys? 25 years? Then you've got a couple of like liver damage issues that came out of the blue. So for example, Baycol was taken off the market for rhabdomyolysis. And then what else? There was another one. Ooh, this is my encyclopedia of pharma knowledge failing. It was Rezuin, an old diabetes drug that had a little bit of a safety problem. So it happens, but there has to be an exigent safety problem that's not one patient. And usually it'll be something like, okay, we didn't know that the liver toxicity of this drug was cumulative. Well, the thing about Sarepta's drug is it's a one-time drug, so it's hard for me to imagine the one-time drug having cumulative tox since you take it once. But you know, you could miss it. Let's say you do a 12-week, I don't know, diabetes study, and you have a small molecule sulfonylurea or something like that, and you know, there's a chemical class known to cause liver enzyme elevation. So you give that drug, and over 12 weeks, you know, you see a tiny bit of LFT elevation or something, but it's not significant. And then, you know, at 2 years, you realize that it's actually a huge problem. You know, that kind of thing happens, and that's when a drug could get removed from the market. But I don't think you could remove a drug that's been traditionally approved. Accelerated approval is a little different. Even those haven't been removed. So a good example is Provenge. Provenge is a drug that's sort of widely thought to not work that got approval. So Provenge was never removed. And then, of course, interestingly, the other drugs from Sarepta, the PMOs, are generally thought to not work either. So you sort of have this issue of, well, you sort of have a company that's built on drugs that are generally not thought to work. And I think, the time to be worried about this would be if Sarepta was trying to get approval now. They already have approval for all these drugs. So, even though this guy seems to hate Sarepta, don't forget Sarepta has a lot of fans in the regulatory DC world. Way back when I was involved with AVI Biopharma in the early days of Sarepta, I was a little more involved. I tried to make some connections and inroads with a handful of very few people I knew that could be useful. And, I knew the company would need FDA on their side. And, they got approval of 𝗦𝗛𝗏𝗧𝗏, their first ever exon skipper. Many people were against this, but you were dealing with patients that were dying boys, Duchenne muscular dystrophy patients. So, if you're going to err on the side of somebody, you would err on the side of the kids. So they've gotten a lot of drugs approved this way. And, I don't know. I think Capricor, for example, is trying to do a DMD drug with 8 patients. They did about a 22 patient study, but 8 patients got drug. 15 or so got placebo. It's pretty hard to approve any drug like that. And they're going for approval. They're getting an AdCom. And now with this new guy in charge, I'd say that the odds of approval are basically 0. They weren't very good previously. Now they have to be 0. Sarepta is a different situation. All their drugs are already approved. So they have to go through quite a lot to actually kind of try to hurt Sarepta. It would be really long and belabored, kind of process, I think. I think that the 𝗎𝗎𝐸 approval was also surprising to me. They might reverse that. That was a BLA, even though it's sort of a device more than a drug. And it certainly didn't meet a primary endpoint of any kind. So, the 𝗎𝗎𝐸 reviewer was against approval. So it was very, very kind of odd that they got approval somehow. So there are, I'd say 1 out of 100 or 1 out of, something like that. Maybe I'll leave it at that. 1 out of 100 FDA approvals are a little squirrely. There's some politics involved. But I'd say 99 out of the other 100 are legit. Actual kind of rigorous science and, legitimate and careful, consideration of the facts, pretty important stuff. And, look, every regulator is allowed to have an opinion, right? There's no problem with one person being more hawkish or dovish, to borrow a term from economics, or conservative or aggressive, maybe. And FDA has been on this aggressive side. And a lot of investors I talked to thought they would become more aggressive. What we're seeing is a huge, anti-pharma kind of conservative movement now, possibly, where FDA, could get very, very stringent, really into the 5.0, the title, I guess it's Title 18, 502, 503, all those rules where it's like, look, you need multiple well-controlled studies for FDA approval that all meet their primary endpoint, and if they want to stand on ceremony, they can do that. They have the full right to say no, that, new NDAs, we want to see 3 or 4 phase 3s work first. And, as I've said a couple of times, we're sort of at the end of medicine. You have people talking about longevity, which is not my favorite thing to talk about, because we still have medicine. When I say we're at the end of medicine, I'm being a little bit metaphorical, but I think we can see the light at the end of the tunnel of medicine, because, all of our needs have been met. Many of our needs have been met on the primary care side. We have huge numbers of antibiotics. There's no point in developing antibiotics anymore. If you've tried, you've gone bankrupt. We have great medicines for cardiovascular disease, including the good old medicine of exercise. We have wonderful drugs for oncology that are, we're just starting on oncology, and we're already cracked quite a lot of it, and that'll continue. We have 20 drugs for MS and other autoimmune diseases like Crohn's and rheumatoid arthritis. We're not quite all the way there yet, even on autoimmune, but we're getting there. So where do we go with medicine? I mean, there's pockets, right? There's Alzheimer's, there's Parkinson's, there's some genetic diseases, but even in the genetic disease toolbox, we have tons of options, right? We have tons of little tools that we can throw at these diseases.